everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back to another episode of B Movie Bash.
Hey, Movie Bash.
I'm Shannon.
I'm Alyssa.
And this week,
we are going to be talking about 2017's The Body Tree.
I hate it already.
I found this at the dollar store.
Oh,
So
okay.
It's a dollar store
I
find.
am excited now.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know why they named it this because
It has nothing to do.
it has it's referenced 3 times maybe, but it has absolutely nothing to do with the movie.
Okay.
What's it's just that's
so it's
the,
like clickbait movie title.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be super creepy, and I was like, okay, all right. I was kind of thinking it was I don't know, crap, I can't remember her name. Is this who put so and so down the witch elm?
Oh yeah.
That's I thought it was gonna be something like that.
Okay.
It was not. Okay.
Yeah.
Here is the bullshit IMDb synopsis.
Is it a fan submitted synopsis?
I think it's the real one. Okay. So essentially, this is the movie.
But also not.
But it's not. Okay. So,
clickbait.
When a young group of Americans travel to Russian Siberia to honor the memory of their murdered friend, they uncover a plot that threatens all their lives. Okay. This was also rated 3.8 on IMDb.
I think mine was a 3.8.
Really?
Or maybe 6.
Maybe.
Somewhere around there.
I think this was generous.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay. The only, I'm going to give you one of the scores right now. The filming was done very well. Okay. That's it.
I mean, that's one step forward.
Mm-hmm. I know, it's not, it was definitely higher quality kind of filming. So, there's that. Okay. And most of this movie, I watched, when I was rewatching it to take my notes, I watched it at 1x speed just so that I could kind of get through it a little faster. It still took me 4 hours to take my notes.
Yep. I feel that.
And I was just shut up already. It's real bad. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it.
Okay.
I'm excited.
So we open up to my favorite part of the whole movie. Okay. The absolute gorgeous landscape that is Siberia. Mm-hmm. We've got the drone helicopter flying over, and we just see gorgeous rivers and mountains and trees, and it's just the best fucking part of the whole movie. And if they ended it right there, I'd have been this
started
is
off
great.
so strong.
Yeah. This is so good, right?
Oh, man.
Super great. It's just fantastic. And then we see down a windy dirt road, 2 cars, two big SUVs, right? Okay. And in the first car contains their professor, Sandra, Eric, Dan, and Rez. Is Rez short for something? I have no idea. Okay. Yeah, and so it's
unique.
It's unique, yes. And I was like, well, okay, we've got Sandra and Helen. We have a Helen over here. So in 2017, okay. She would have been born in 1997. Who's naming their kids Helen in 1997?
Nobody.
No one.
No one has been named Helen, since Helen Hunt.
Yeah. It's been a while. Yeah. Nobody's watching Wings anymore. Anyway, so in their car, the professor says that he's been waiting 30 years to see this place. And they're all like, oh, yeah? Why? And he's like, the land around us is filled with spiritual and healing energy. And you can tell this is something that he's been, looking into for a long time. And Rez replies, well, maybe that's what you want to believe so you didn't waste the last 30 years of your life on this crap.
Why are you here?
Right? And the professor gives him this dark look and calls him a cynic, and he's like, it's not a very good way to live your life, not enjoying it kind of a thing. And he's like, yeah, whatever, professor,
He seems fun.
Yeah, he's so fun. He's fun for the rest of the movie. Eric, who I believe is Russian, because the actor's Russian, and he has a slight accent. I thought he was French for half a second. Okay. But I guess he's Russian.
Those accents are nothing alike.
They're nothing alike, but I'm sitting here and I could not place it. He looks very American, but I guess the actor is Russian, and so he's Russian. You also find out later Helen is also Russian, the actress, so they know a little bit. I don't know if they speak fluent Russian or whatever, but they know some of it. Anyway. So Eric, trying to liven the mood, is just well, I personally would rather be in the Bahamas, And Rez replies, well, next time maybe you can ask one of your friends from the Bahamas to get stabbed 4 times instead. Sandra rolls her eyes and she's like, how did I get stuck in a car with you?
That's how I'm feeling right
now.
Yeah, also.
Yep.
I feel that.
Yes. Also, they never talk about their drivers. They're just the drivers getting them there. They're just these Russian guys they hired. So, like, it's... Okay. No, I kept wondering why they were filming in such a way that it was like passenger seat, rest of the car, passenger seat, rest of the car, and it's because the driver doesn't matter. They're literally the people that are like, here you go, goodbye, and then
I'm
leave.
the Uber.
Basically,
have a good day.
Right. So the next car contains Mike, Helen, Alice, and Tony.
This is a lot of people.
Okay. Yeah. So Helen asks, what do you think we should say to Kara's parents? Sorry, it's Russian, so Kara's parents when we see them. And Mike tells her that we shouldn't say anything. And,
okay.
And Alice goes, yeah, I'm sure they've totally gotten over the fact that their daughter's dead. And he's like, well, maybe they just don't want to be constantly reminded, the second we get out of the car. And she's like, well, don't you think they're going to feel that way around us anyway? And he goes, don't you think they're going to feel really awkward around you? And I'm sitting here just like, dish. What's going on? Yeah. Which we find out in the rest of the movie. But like,
I love how much of a gossip whore you are.
I know. I don't like to be part of gossip. I just like to know. Yeah. Tell me.
Just tell me the drama.
It's safe with me.
I'm not the drama.
So yeah, they're kind of arguing for just a second. And Helen tries to get Mike to drop it. And he says one more snarky thing, but it's useless. Anyway, so he tells it like, well, you guys could have just been one big happy family. Kind of a thing is what he says to her. Okay. And I was like, okay. Anyway, back in the first car, the professor is explaining, he's like, there's bodies out in these mountains and stuff. And Sandra goes, human bodies? And I'm like, well, yeah, it is isolated area.
Have you seen Siberia?
Yeah. I'm like, have you ever thought of, like, any time anyone has died in all of human history that they could have been literally out there being a goat farmer having a heart attack and just dying out there?
It's like people being like, did you know there's a bunch of bodies on Mount Everest? There are?
What?
Excuse me?
No way! Like, just, it's both.
Like, do you know how big Russia is?
Yeah.
It's fucking huge.
It's ginormous, right?
Huge.
So, like, I just thought it was stupid. I was thinking, like, oh, is it like an ancient Indian burial ground kind of a thingy? Like, I don't know what they call, like a native Siberian, kind of a, like,
whatever they had there.
Yeah. But the professor starts explaining that in 1993, archaeologists discovered a female mummy encased in ice that was 2,500 years old.
Okay.
And the locals said not to move her because she had been placed there to guard the entrance to the underworld.
Oh.
And Dan was like, let me guess, they moved her. And he was like, yeah, they did. And an earthquake shook the ground when they did.
Oh, boy.
So, like, but that's...
And you said it back in.
Right? You just, whoopsies, my bad. That's about it, though. So, like, yeah. So the two cars pull up to this adorable little farm with a cute little family working away. The mom's sitting at, like, this little wooden table with jars in front of her and stuff. The kids are, like, chopping wood and chasing chickens and shit.
Aww.
And so everybody gets out to stretch their legs, but the drivers come up and they're, like, talking in Russian, like, pointing at things. And she starts, and, like, pointing, obviously giving them directions because nobody knows what they're saying.
Okay.
So they didn't bother to put subtitles down for that.
Like, you'll figure it out. There's context.
They put subtitles down in one part of the movie, and that's because no American was around them. Okay. So, like, that was it. Yep. So as everyone's kind of getting out and walking around, Alice kind of, like, huffs away a little bit, and the professor follows her. And he's like, hey, it's gonna be okay. If you need anything, just let me know. Mm-hmm. And he does kind of one of those awkward, like, kind of like, pat, like he's not sure if he should touch her kind of a, like, moment, Okay. And I was immediately like, hey, professor, how about you step away from the student?
How about you stop?
Like, I felt that, like, immediately, and I was like, oh, okay, I know exactly what this movie's about. So, as all this is going on, Sandra and Eric, who are dating, the Russian guy, and Sandra, who she's just a brunette, they're dating, and Eric and Tony were my favorite characters.
Okay.
Besides Piotr, but we'll see him later. So, anyway. So they look over and they see the little boy chopping wood and stuff, and he looks really nervous for a second, but she's like, hey, it's okay. She kind of gets down, like, kid level, and he starts like, oh, okay, all right, this is fine, And they, after a second, get him to, like, take some silly pictures with them and stuff.
Okay.
I don't know who thought this was a silly picture, but Eric has his head on the chopping block with the kid with the axe, like,
cute,
against his neck. And I'm like, that's so adorable. That's so fun. That's
you have put a lot of faith in the Russian child.
Like, just just for the sheer fact that, like, that could nick you, like, just, like...
Yeah.
And it's...
so many, dangerous things.
Dangerous thing. Yeah, all of that I didn't like. But soon enough, they're back on the road and driving along, and they finally get to Kara's family's farm kind of area, and I don't know how many fucking sheds these people need to have, but they have their main house. They've got this ceremony shed a little bit later. They have a shed where they keep a car, and they have a shed where they keep these other things that I'm going to talk about in a bit. Okay. So, like, I don't fucking know how many sheds these people fucking need, but they got them.
Apparently 3 or 4.
They got them. Okay. So they get there. Anyway, they are greeted by Pieter. It's like Peter, but Pieter. Okay. I'm going to try to say it correctly. And then Sergei. And Pieter is Kara's brother, and Sergei is their best friend. He's known them their whole lives. He's practically a brother to them, right?
But they're not from Russia?
They are from Russia.
Those guys are, but these friends are not.
These friends are not. These are the Americans.
How are they friends with all of these people?
They're friends through Kara.
Okay.
And Kara was murdered.
Right.
Yes.
How do they know Kara?
Through school.
So she came to America?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So he runs up and he's trying to like, oh, hello, welcome. And he's like, I understand English, no speak it good. Like, so he understands it better than he speaks it, right? But I think he does a pretty good job. So he greets all of them like he's never met these people before, hugging and, oh, it's so nice to meet you. Like, oh, my Kara's friends. And like all that, asking them their names. He obviously has no idea who these people are. And they're all like, oh, I'm so-and-so, I'm so-and-so. Helen greets him talking in Russian and he, and like hugs her and like all excited and stuff, like they're just big old happy family. And then he gets to Alice and he's like, Alice, and then turns and walks away. You.
Okay.
Like, and I'm sitting here, I was like, oh my gosh, was she dating Kara? What happened?
That's my
god.
like,
that's what I'm
confused.
thinking.
Yeah.
It's not. She's not dating Kara. Okay. We'll get there.
Is that the one that they were like, is her family going to be happy to meet you or to see you?
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yes.
But yeah, that was my first thought too, was they were dating.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Roommates.
And they were roommates. So they're kind of just like getting unpacked and moving about, and Dan and Eric go inside and they see this wall of like old like tiny tools, like shovels, a couple of little like pickaxes, things, like it's clearly like this cute little wall dedicated to ancestry kind of stuff, right? And I think a few of them may have been weapons, but I'm not entirely sure. They didn't give you like a really good view of it. A few of them could have just been like, oh, this, like it's a old-timey scythe kind of cut the, that kind of stuff. Anyway,
good.
I don't know.
Good.
So they're kind of like laughing about that inside, and a few of them also look over and they see this tree covered in ribbons. And so Alice and Sandra, the professor, and Sergei walk up to it. And they're like, what's this? And Sergei's basically like, oh, it's a wishing tree. We tie ribbons around it basically to like show support to the dead and make a wish. And so there's some spirits that are caught between here and now. And it's just kind of to respect those that aren't passing on kind of a thing.
Do they do the same thing where once your ribbon falls off, your wish is granted? Because I've heard that before.
I don't know. They just like the ribbons are like pretty tight on there, and some of them look pretty old, so I'm not sure. I'm wondering if it's more of like it's supposed to stay on.
Okay.
I have no idea. So they don't talk about the tree too much. It's just
right.
They just
why would they?
it.
Because it's just the title of the movie.
That's not the tree.
Oh.
That one's not the tree.
Okay.
That's just some wishing tree that they have. Yeah. So later on, Sandra finds a room and she gets Helen and Alice to go look at it with her. And it's like this shrine to Kara. It's got pictures, dozens of pictures of her and her friends. And there's candles and a couple of little animal skulls and a clock. And just like it looks like it's a ritual altar kind of a thing, right? And they're like, what the heck? This is actually like kind of weird, They're like, well, we miss Kara too, but this is kind of like, this is a lot, right? And then Helen points out a picture with Brandon in it. And Alice remarks that she wouldn't have expected the family to want to have seen him.
Okay. How many people did she date, man?
Right? And Sandra's like, well, I hate to say it, but I'm surprised they'd want to see you too, Alice.
What is happening?
Right?
I want to know.
I know. So Helen turns around and she sees on the floor there's this like big wooden, or this big circle made of like logs cut out, like they're little like, I don't know, like a couple inches long logs, so it makes a pretty nice circle.
Okay.
And she's like, what is this? And Sandra says, it must be why we're here. Okay, so they explain it.
Okay.
Upstairs, we see Tony and Dan, and Tony is from Barcelona, I think he said. Okay. So he's got this cute little accent too, right?
Right.
And they're just like talking about, or Tony's complaining that he can't get his laptop to turn on, and he's like, what the heck's going on? And Dan's like, is it charged? Did you bring your charger? Like, just plug it in, dude. And then Tony goes, oh, flips the laptop over, opens the battery cartridge, pulls out weed. And it's like, I know why.
My
like,
weed was in my battery.
And so they're laughing about that for a second. And I don't know if they smoked it or not, because later on he kind of makes a comment of like, am I tripping or something? But like,
they don't
show them smoking it. So like, I don't know.
Okay. It's implied.
I have no idea if it does or if it doesn't. At the same time, Alice catches up with Mike outside, and she's asking him, she said that Helen mentioned that Mike's dad might take a look at Brandon's case again. And Mike is trying to be polite. He's like, listen, my dad's a little busy. Like, I don't know if he has time. Like, you know, he's
a busy man.
Busy man. He's a pretty popular lawyer. I don't know if he can. And Alice just keeps like, well, you know, he didn't do it and blah, blah, like just kind of going off. So Mike is finally like, listen, okay, my dad says, and just kind of goes off for a moment, like giving her how it really is and stuff. He's like, there's no evidence to prove that he didn't do it. Like, my dad doesn't make his money off of getting innocent men out of jail, kind of a thing. You know, he's like, if any new evidence comes up, maybe there's a chance. But
if there's no evidence that he didn't do it, is there evidence that he did do it? Because if not, then he shouldn't be in jail in the first place.
Right. Well, I guess they had enough evidence on him to, like, suggest that he did. So, like,
all right.
Yeah. So he's been convicted at this point.
Okay.
Like, he's
there.
He's there.
Done.
He's in jail for it, right? They kept saying jail. They didn't say prison, so he must have just, like, I don't know, but I guess murdering somebody actually would constitute. Anyway.
I mean, any jail in Russia, I assume, is just the worst.
Oh, no. Brandon is in jail in America.
Oh, okay.
So, all of these people that came from America, all that shit happened in America.
Okay.
Yes. So, the only thing is that Kara, when she died, they sent her back to Russia to be with her family because...
That makes sense.
Yeah. She's just a transfer student. And he's just basically like, if you can find new evidence that said he didn't do it, then maybe he'll take a look at it. Okay? Mm-hmm. All right? Okay. And she's all like, but you know he didn't do it. And he's like, I don't know that.
Yeah.
And this scene was some of the worst acting. Like, Mike was, like, he was great in a few other scenes, but I don't know if he just wasn't feeling it in this scene. But he was basically just, like, reading a script. Like, It was bad. It was really bad. And Alice was just not giving him anything back. So, like, it was really stupid. Anyway, so they all head outside after a little bit. It's kind of like, it's getting dark out. And Sergei had made dinner for everybody. So they were all going to go sit down and eat dinner together. And as they walk up to this, like, outside table, you know how they, like, feast outside. They've got the tiki torches kind of burning and stuff. And a big wooden table. Everybody's kind of sitting, there's all this food on the table. But at the head of the table is this large fabric doll. Okay, wearing a white dress with brown hair.
Don't like that.
Right?
Nope.
And they all just kind of like, what the... And the professor immediately, like, rushes over, sits right next to the doll. And he's like, like, all excited, right?
Okay.
Well, so then Sandra and Eric kind of like, okay, let's go sit down. So they go sit down. Everybody else eventually kind of goes to sit. Tony and Dan are talking for a second. You can kind of tell that this is them, like, they're pretty close friends. Like, they're buddy out of the group of the buddies, you know?
Right.
And Tony's like, am I tripping? And he's like, no, that's really a doll. And he's like, what the fuck is going on, man? And then Sergei turns around and puts a plate with a piece of bread on it in front of the doll, okay?
Okay.
And they were like, did he just serve it food? And he's like, oh my gosh, he just served him food. And they're like tripping out for a second, right? But they eventually go to sit down. Tony's like, fuck it, man, and sits down. Sergei mentions that Piotr won't be joining them for dinner because he's preparing for the ceremony to take place later, right?
Okay.
And it's the 1-year anniversary of Kara's death, right? So, like, it's been a year since she died.
Okay.
So...
That seems weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Alice asks if Kara's parents will be attending the ceremony, and Sergei kind of gives her this, like, we'll be paying our respects later kind of moment, you know? And she's like, okay. And the professor asks if this is an Aterma doll. And Sergei's like, yeah, it is. And they were like, what's an Aterma doll? And he's like, it's to represent her, right? Yeah. And the professor reaches up and is like, is that her real hair?
Oh,
and,
no.
And Sergei says, yes, Piotr cut it off before we put her in her coffin. Yeah. And that's how they do things, you know, they cut off their hair.
That's a voodoo doll.
Yeah, basically, right? And that she's also wearing her favorite dress. And Alice is like, that's the dress she was killed in.
Oh.
So obviously it was her, yeah. And Sergei was like, we washed out the bloodstains. And I'm like, out of a white dress, son?
Yeah,
no, you did not.
No.
Did you get that immediately with some freaking vinegar and OxyClean and all that shit? Because no, you didn't, sir. No, you did not wash out.
Cold water in the world is getting that out.
That's nothing. Like, hydrogen peroxide ain't doing you nothing on this, sir. Like...
Take it from the women.
Yeah.
It's not
coming out of white lace, okay? Anyway,
also, like, just find her second favorite dress, maybe.
Yeah.
Like,
but that was her favorite dress, and that's where they put her in. And he's like, oh, we also stitched up the knife holes. So, like,
Oh my God, what?
Yep. But it was her favorite dress, so her Terma doll has to wear it.
Second favorite dress,
I know,
man.
right? I just
lie about it.
I know. Also, as a brother and a best friend, I don't know if I would know their favorite dress.
No.
Like, So, in the shrine room, we see Pieter, it's the room with all the pictures and stuff. Pieter is chanting, and he's waving, like, smoke about, and he's covering himself with some kind of dark paint kind of thing.
Okay.
And chanting and just kind of, like, getting into a very shamanistic kind of, like, mindset, you know?
Okay.
And puts on a kind of ceremonial, like, it looks like it's made from soft leather, like... Hide, kind of, yeah. And then it's got beads and little bells and bits of other things. And he's thinking deeply about about Kara. He's calling out to her, and he puts on this mask and is just Kara, and just chanting and dancing and stuff.
Is this
and
a Russian thing, I guess?
I don't know. I didn't know that they were so, like...
Spiritual?
Well,
versus,
not in this kind of spiritual, because it gave me
Yeah.
really, like, Native American-y vibes.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
know.
I don't know enough about Siberia to,
The only thing I know about Russia is what I saw in Anastasia.
Yeah.
So I'm very limited.
Yep. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, back at the table, the professor is the only one who is like, like eating everything down as fast as he fucking can.
Okay.
Because he just, oh, it's delicious. Oh my gosh, Sergey, this is so yummy. Like, nobody else is gonna eat? Okay, more for me, kind of a thing. And Sergey's just like, like,
Okay.
hanging out, right? And then, right then, Pieter shows up, and he's like, follow me, everyone, come on, follow me. So they all follow after him, and he takes them into the woods, like, kind of, out behind the house, and we see 2 grave plots, one on either side of an empty grave hole, okay? And they're like... What? Yeah, what is this? And Pieter starts just like, he gets on the ground, he's just like praying and just like kissing the dirt and stuff, and just very spiritual moment for him. And Sergey explains this is Kara and Pieter's mother and father, that a week after Kara had been killed, their car had driven off a cliff. So they had also died. Yeah. And but obviously the friends didn't know about it, And the professor is like, they're all like, okay, well, what are we doing here, kind of a thing. And we see Pieter picking up a handful of dirt from each pile and pouring it into this little, like, leather baggie. And the professor is like, he's asking their permission to call upon the dead in the presence of the living. And they're like, okay. And they're like, well, wait, if that is supposed to be Kara's, like, grave, where's Kara?
Where is she?
Yeah, where is she? And Sergey goes, the ground is for people that have found peace, and the sky is for people who are still searching for it. And so they take them a little bit further away and show them this tree, and high up in the branches is Kara's coffin.
Wait, what?
Her coffin.
The coffin?
The coffin. They've got this wooden coffin up there that looks like they hoisted it up and then tied it to the tree.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to be, like, just hanging out.
No, that's what I was hoping for, honestly. But, like, no, it was just a coffin.
Okay.
So... And the whole time I'm watching this, I was like, oh, dude, it's going to go this one way. And I really wanted to go this one way, and it didn't. It would have been so much better if it went the way that I thought it was going to go.
You're gonna
but, like,
that later, right?
I will, yeah.
Okay.
So they're like, yeah, she's up there. Once we perform the ceremony, then we will bury her. And he's like, well, I'll bury her together.
Why did this take a year?
Because they had to do it on the anniversary of her death. Like, that's the ceremony requires that kind of a thing.
Okay.
So she's been up there for who knows how
what about
long.
the parents who are already in the ground?
The parents weren't murdered.
Okay. So they're like settled. They're good. Okay.
They're good. So they died. They weren't murdered. They believe in this story that if you've been murdered, your spirit can't be at rest because you died violently, That's
fair.
They kind of explain that here in a minute. But so he takes them back to the shrine room, and the Aterma doll that they had sitting at the table is now laying in the middle of the circle. And Sergey starts getting them all into the circle and holding hands and stuff, and explaining to them that because she was killed in an act of violence, her soul is confused and it's trapped in between the worlds, right?
Okay.
So she's out in the darkness right now. And the ceremony called the Black Sky Ceremony is supposed to call upon her. It's supposed to get her attention, and her friend's love for her is supposed to act as a guiding light to guide her to where she's supposed to go. Right?
Okay.
So, and I'm like, I kind of like that. And Pieter he's like, this is going to work 1000%. He's like, I've been a shaman for years.
Works every time.
I know what I'm doing. He's like, this is exactly what it's supposed to do. and it's what's gonna happen, right?
Okay.
And they said that they've done it plenty of times, and it's like worked every single time, right?
Good foreshadowing.
Right.
Cool.
So Pieter starts really getting into it. He's dancing around. He's got his little drum banging on it and like chanting and all this stuff. Everybody's kind of like,
what?
trying not to laugh. The girls are looking uncomfortable and stuff. The professor is like, yeah.
Like, this is why he's a professor.
Like, he is like, I'm gonna record that part because he is like into it. He is headbanging along and just in love with it, right? Well, the wind starts picking up inside the room, okay? Doors are shut, windows are shut, wind's picking up.
Okay.
Everyone's kind of like, what the fuck is going on, you know? The doll starts moving, legs start moving.
No.
And then starts levitating up off the ground.
Okay.
Pieter does not seem worried at all. He's dancing and singing, calling out to Kara. Yeah. Sergei is like, yes, this is great. This is working, you know, like it's doing its thing, right?
Okay.
And the doll is floating up above them in the air, like it's above head level now, bursts into flames, falls and hits the ground. Everyone starts screaming.
Yeah.
Running out of the room.
Yeah.
And freaking the fuck out, right? So they run all back into the main house, screaming and crying about what the fuck was that? That did not just happen. Oh my gosh, am I high? Like just all, you know, like this is so fucked up, man, you know?
Yeah.
So Sergei comes in and everyone's like, what just happened? And he's like, the Black Sky ceremony has been passed down for generations. And the professor's like, you have no idea what you're talking about, do you? And he's like, this is not supposed to happen, kind of a thing. So the professor starts going off about how the Siberian shamans believe that the world is made up of layers, right? And it's not just good, and it's not, but there's also darkness, you know?
Yeah.
And so he's like, we must, or when you open that door, you're opening the door to all of it. Yeah. And so he very firmly believes that Pieter, like, because they opened this, they've received a message from the dark side, not from any light or anything.
Right.
And the whole time, anytime the professor opens his mouth, Rez is basically like, yeah, well, fuck you, man. Like, just, that's a bunch of bullshit, man. Just, like, very much hates the professor,
How is anyone friends with him?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Why are you here, buddy?
I had no idea. Yeah. So Pieter comes in now, and he's very disturbed. And they're like, what just happened? And he says, Kara. And they're like, what about it? And he's like, none of you are sleeping tonight. And then walks away. He's very shook right now. Like, he very much doesn't know what just happened, right? So later on, we see Alice is looking pretty upset when Helen comes in to talk to her. And they're like, yeah, this is all pretty fucked up and crazy, right? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then Helen, out of nowhere, it was like, man, it's just, you know, it's really hard to lose family. And I thought she was talking about Kara, or she was talking about Pieter and Sergei being upset about
losing Kara.
But then Alice just is like, I didn't lose Brandon, okay? I can still see him on Sundays from noon to 1.
What?
Just out of fucking nowhere, right? So now I'm sitting here thinking that she's actually been in love with Brandon this whole time. And that, like, maybe she cheated on, or, like, she helped Brandon cheat on her with Kara. That Brandon and Kara were dating and she cheated on, or, like, helped him cheat on Kara with herself. You know, like, just Brandon and Alice together kind of a thing. Like, that's, I'm not explaining this well at all, but, like.
Is the 12 to 1, like, a class?
No, 12 to 1 is when visiting hours are at the jail, because
jail.
Brandon's the one.
In the jail.
Yeah, because he's in the jail, yes. But, like, so I'm sitting here thinking, like, okay, well, either maybe she was with Kara and cheated on her with Brandon, or maybe Brandon was with Kara and cheated on Kara with Alice. Like, that's what I was thinking, right?
Love triangle
something
somewhere.
like this. Yeah, but I'm like, there is no way that she is not in love with Brandon, okay? Absolutely in love with him.
Okay.
And she's like, and I'm going to keep visiting him until we find out who actually killed Kara, because there's no way that he did it, right? And she is adamant that he didn't, or that he wouldn't have killed Kara, right? Tony, back in his room with Dan, is trying to talk to Dan, and he's like, man, this is so messed up, huh? Don't you think? And Dan, who had up until this point been very jokey and very, like, you know, like, playing along with him, just stares at him and then looks back out the window. And Tony's like, okay, I'm gonna go get some air then. Like, everybody's pretty shook at this point, so I guess he's thinking, like, Dan is taking it pretty hard. Like, he needs some time. So he goes to go outside and leaves him alone. The professor goes back to the shed looks at the burned floor, looks at the singed doll, and then goes back to the house. It was just dumb time filler. Like, it's so stupid. Yeah. Sandra seems to be in shock in her room, and Eric is laying next to her, trying to, like, comfort her, and she's just like, this is so messed up, and he's like, it's gonna be okay, I'm here, like, it's gonna be all right. Eric is peak boyfriend, okay? Like, Eric is a great guy. For a bit. Okay. Mike and Helen are in his room or their room. I don't know what they are. Okay. But she's complaining about this is so stupid. And he's like, yeah, this is really messed up. We just need to leave. And she was like, you know, you didn't say 2 words to me on the plane ride. And she's like, and I know why. And I was like, why?
Are you going to tell us? And she's just going to be passive aggressive.
Right? So he just kind of starts wrapping his arms around her and getting all kind of cuddly. And she's like, you only want to sleep with me when you want a distraction. And he doesn't say anything back. And
like,
so
you are correct.
Yeah.
Man.
So they bang.
Okay.
And in this moment, mega creep professor hears what's going on and opens their door, okay? And not just like
he just like walk.
Just like 4 or 5 inches wide, and it's just like staring at them, okay? As they're and listen, okay. Their moans were not matching the movement that was going on screen. There was a lot of, like, more, like, excited sounds happening, and there was very little motion happening whatsoever.
I mean, maybe
like,
that's just all they have to work
I
with,
guess.
okay?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I just, the whole time I was like, is she that good that you guys are this, like, or is he that good that you guys are like...
Whoever dubbed it was just really excited.
I guess. There was, like, hardly any movement. I will not show you the scene, but like but he is like standing there watching for a good while with the door way too far open, and Mike all he has to do is go to see him there. Nothing. He does nothing.
He's focused.
He is so focused. So then we see Peter sitting outside, and he's like rubbing at his face. He looks very distraught, like he's like very much trying to figure out what's going on, and we just keep seeing flashes of him when he was preparing Kara's body for getting in her coffin and stuff. I guess not burial, but probably burial, you know.
Tree burial.
And you start hearing her talking in Russian to him, but there's no subtitles, so we don't know what she's saying. Okay. So, but it's just very like wispy, kind of ghosty, kind of just, you know, like talking to him, and he just keeps rubbing his face and just looking distraught and just all this stuff, right? Okay. Well, right then, Tony approaches him and sits down with him, and he's like, you know, what you did in there kind of, like, fucked me up, man. And he just, Peter just is like, okay.
Thanks.
Like, thanks for that. And then Tony's like, it was cool. I liked it. Yeah. And he's like, you know, Kara was the very first person I met when I came to the U.S. And we clicked right away because we were both from so far away and, like, you know, just foreigners in a strange land, and we just became best of friends, you know? Mm-hmm. And he was like, I was going to take her to Barcelona, and she was going to come show me the mountains here. Like, I was so excited to do it, and now because of her, I do get to come and see this. I'm just sad that I don't get to show her Barcelona. Yeah. And he's like, listen, we may not all like each other, but we all loved Kara. Like, she was like the glue, the pillar of their friendship, I think. Like, I guess she was the person that made them all friends, right? And Peter kind of is like, thanks for that. Like, thank you. You know, like, my sister was great, wasn't she? Kind of a thing, you know? Aww. Like, it was like he needed to hear that, you know? Yeah. And that's why I love Tony.
I love Tony, too.
Yeah. Right. So then Alice is laying in bed a little bit later, and she's got her phone out. And they did mention that they don't have service here. And I was like, yeah, it's the middle of fucking Siberia. Like, you didn't need to explain to me that there wasn't going to be service out here. Like, I get it, you know? Yeah, so Alice is laying in bed, and she's just kind of watching a video of her and Brandon on her phone. And it's she watches it like 4 times, but it's one of those like, okay, ready? Okay, smile. Oh, it's a video. I'm taking a video. right, just dumb things. And she, like, you see on the video that he just kind of turns and kisses her on the head, and they just kind of, and then she watches it again, and then watches it again. You know, I'm sitting here like she's very much pining after him, like, you know, and she thinks back to the night that Kara had died, and it was Kara's birthday party, and they were having this big old party, like, tons of people in this house. There's pounding music and all these flashing lights and stuff, and you see her wearing the most unflattering red dress and red lipstick. She does not pull it off whatsoever. And this is coming from a person who doesn't think she can pull off red lipstick, okay? Right. It was bad. She shouldn't have gone with red. So she's kind of walking through the house, and she walks up to Tony, and she's like, have you seen Brandon and Kara? I'm just saying all these names weird. And Tony's like, just laughs, and she's like, okay, you're high, goodbye.
Yep.
And walks away. And then you see some of her other friends, like the friends that are all there kind of dancing and having a good time, just like,
yeah.
You know. She walks into the kitchen and she sees Helen and Mike kind of arguing a little bit. And Helen is just like, but I already told you, you shouldn't be upset about, like, just something. I didn't hear fully what they were saying, but then Alice comes up and she's like, have you guys seen Brandon and Kara? And they were like, I don't know, I guess they're upstairs. And then she's like, yeah, okay. And then Helen goes, did you tell Brandon? And Alice doesn't say anything. She just turns around and walks away.
Okay.
Right? And then she goes to go up the stairs, and Rez comes past her, holding his face, but his hands are covered in blood, right? Mm-hmm. And I immediately was like, oh, he got punched in the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bloody nose.
Bloody nose.
Yeah.
She took it not as that. She was like, why are his hands covered in blood? He's holding his face.
Yeah. What else would it be?
I
lost a tooth?
I don't know. I was so frustrated about that. I was like, whatever. So then as she gets up to the top of the stairs, she sees the professor talking to a female student away from the party.
Oh boy.
And
why is he here? At a
college party?
Here.
Yeah.
Leave,
but he's talking to this random girl, and the girl kind of like passes out in his arms, and he's like, whoa, careful there, get back up, kind of a thing. And Alice ignores them. Just flat out, just like, okay, whatever, and keeps walking.
I'd be like, hey friend, let's go like, somewhere else.
Maybe girl, I don't know. Let's go somewhere else. Like, absolutely.
Your name's not Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. Let's go.
Yeah. No, she completely ignores them, and she goes to this one room, opens the door, and Brandon is sitting on the floor with Kara in his arms. And both of them are covered in blood, and he looks like he's so confused. He's very like,
what the fuck just happened?
He looks up at her like he's like, where am I? What's going on? And she just screams, right?
Okay, yeah.
End of scene.
Okay.
So, let's see. Present day, while Alice is laying in bed, she gets up, goes over to her suitcase, and pulls out a red shirt. Just some kind of red fabric, and rips it up, okay?
Okay.
She goes back out into the hallway and is startled by Sandra, who is like, I just saw somebody, okay? And Alice is like, what? You saw who? Well, Eric comes around the corner right then, and of course you have to have the shirtless scene, and there's Eric.
Okay.
And he's just like, there's no one out there, honey. Like, I don't see anyone. And she was like, no, I'm pretty sure I saw someone. He's like, okay, you haven't slept in a few days from jet lag. Like, it's like, maybe, and with everything happening, maybe we're just
15
a little
people in this house.
Yeah, he's like, maybe we're just a little like hyped up, right? Yeah. And so she's like, well, I'm pretty sure I saw somebody. And he's like, well, I'm here, okay? It's like, all right, I'm here for you, you know? And so I appreciated that he wasn't trying to gaslight her, but he was very much just like, listen, we haven't slept in a few days.
Let's redirect.
We did just see all that nonsense going on, okay?
Not right now.
Maybe, know, you're probably just freaking yourself out a little bit. I, as a very rational person, would be like, yeah, I agree with him.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
That makes sense.
And I'm not a rational person, so... Let's see. So then Alice is like, you want to go outside? And Sandra's like, what for? And Alice like holds up the ripped up fabric that she's got and is like, I need to make a wish.
Okay.
So they go outside in the middle of the fucking night.
In Siberia.
Where
you just think you saw a person walking around.
That's the thing that I just didn't make any sense to me, was that she was like, I saw somebody. And then agreed to go outside without Eric. Just the two of them.
What if it was a wild animal?
Right?
What if it was a person?
What if it was a person?
What if it was a ghost?
Right? Like, I don't...
You're dumb.
Yeah. So they
lock the doors harder.
Right? So they go out to the tree, and I just, like, this is the dumbest white people shit of all time, right?
Okay.
And Alice is like, Brandon needs a wish right now. And Sandra's like, I just want to go home. So that's what I'm wishing for, like, kind of a thing. And so they go over, and they're tying the ribbons to the tree when they hear footsteps. And they're just kind of like, what the fuck? And they look over, and someone walks out of the woods in the kind of, I thought it was Peter's shaman outfit for a minute, but I'm not entirely sure now, because later on in the movie it looks like it was, but in this scene it didn't look like it was, so I don't fucking know. But it's kind of the shamanesque, like he's still wearing like the leathers and stuff.
Okay.
But he's got this weird bag mask over his face, like I want to say it's burlap, but it's tighter than burlap.
Ugh,
but like that's
so
like, I know, but it's on his face.
Ew.
Like, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Itchy.
Yeah, it's bad. So he turns and he sees them, and they're like, oh shit, and he starts running at them, carrying a big old axe.
Okay.
So they freak out and go running back towards the house, but they get a little disoriented because they're trying to run away from him, so they get into the woods a little bit. Alice has the smart idea, because they're carrying this big old lantern that gives off like 2 inches of light.
Right.
And like, so she has the bright idea that he's following them because of the lantern. He can see the light bobbing, right? So they quickly like go and like put it down on the ground and then go and run and hide behind a tree. And he runs over and picks up the lantern and then just like goes off in another direction thinking that he heard him go off one way, right? Okay. So they get up and they start running back towards the house. As they're running, Alice falls into an empty grave that wasn't Kara's from before. It's just this empty hole out in the middle of the woods, right? Cool. And at first I was just like, there's holes in the woods. Like, it's just like...
I mean, I guess.
Yeah. But it's person-sized and square. So, like, yeah, that's man-made. So she freaks out. Sandra pulls her out of it as the axe guy is, like, coming up on them, right? So she yanks her out. They go running back towards the house, screaming their heads off for help, right? And I'm like, very good. Good girls. Yeah. You're getting near the house.
Announce yourself.
This is the time to announce yourself. If you're running through the woods, you're not screaming for help because you're out in the middle of fucking nowhere. Nobody's gonna know where to find you, right? Yeah. Anyway, so they're running up to the house. Alice trips and falls just as, like, he's gonna swing the axe at her. And they have those dumb B-roll, like, kind of scream, like the classic, like, if you think of a movie scream, it's the movie screams. It's those ones, yeah.
They just plug it in.
Yeah, so they played 3 of those. They didn't sound like their voices whatsoever. And I was just like, why?
Can't you just pull the actors back in?
Yeah,
to
just
scream
just
into
scream.
a microphone?
Literally, like, hey, can we have you come back in? We'll give you like $2 to do it. I'd be like, fuck it, I just, done.
People get called in to do pickups all the time.
All the time. And I don't know why they did that, but they did that, right? Okay. Well, Pieter tackles the attacker, right? Out of nowhere, just fucking line back tackles him, right? But the attacker kind of gets the upper hand. They're tussling on the ground. The attacker rolls Pieter onto his back, and he's got the axe, and he's trying to bring it down towards his face. He does cut him on the chest a little bit, nicks him. But they're fighting for a good moment. The girls are still screaming for help at this point because obviously Pieter needs help, you know? Yeah. And Tony comes out of nowhere with a screwdriver and stabs him in the back, right? Jeez. And Mike also comes out and, like, football kicks him off of Pieter, right? And at that point, he's like, yeah, get some. And I was like, shut up, Mike. You didn't do anything. Like, yeah. At this point, Sandra, now that, you know, she, like... The feminism leaves her body in this moment because, you know, she was screaming for help, and now that everyone around her has her protected, now she feels the need to, I'm gonna do it and fuck you up, and like
I'm
goes,
the woman, I'm gonna do it.
Goes to kick him and stuff, right? Well, Tony grabs her and it's like, it's okay, it's done, we got him, like, it's fine, you know.
Stabbed him with a screwdriver.
I got it, yeah. So he's laying there just like, oh my gosh. And what I did appreciate about this movie is they have so many movies where somebody gets stabbed and they act like it's nothing. Yeah. They act like they're like totally fine. And I mean, I get in the moments where it's like, I have to run for my life or just, you know, lay here and take it kind of thing, you know. But in this moment, it's done. The fighting's done, right? And I just appreciated that the guy's laying there on the ground just like, oh, fucking shit. I'm not moving, right? So they yank the mask off of him Scooby-Doo style. And... it's Dan.
What?
Tony's best friend. Oh, Dan.
Okay.
Yep. And they're like, oh my gosh, get him inside. Like, what the fuck is going on, right? So they get him up. They rush him inside. One of them wants to yank out the screwdriver. I'm not sure who it was that said it, but they wanted to, like, yank out the screwdriver. And Pieter was like, no, how you say, and Alice is like, bleed out? What? And he's like, yeah. He's like, bleed out, he died. And
do I take it out or do I leave it in?
Yeah, right? And so they were like, oh my gosh, well, we need to get him to a hospital. And Sergei and Pieter just kind of stare at each other for a second. And they're like, the closest hospital is an hour drive away. And you won't make it in the dark, basically. Yeah. So, like, they were like, well, he's just gonna lay here and, like, bleed out and die and everything. Well, Sergei's like, we'll go in the morning. Like, we can't go right now. We have to go in the morning. Like, it's just, there's no way to, like, it's pitch black out there. So, like...
But if you have a car...
Yeah, so, but just, they were like, we can't go. Like, we'll keep him here, and we'll keep him from dying, kind of a thing. Okay. And I'm like, I mean... He literally only got stabbed in the back. I really don't think it actually like hit any internal organs.
Arteries right there.
No, I don't. I'm sure he'll be fine. Like people have gotten stabbed for worse.
Just fill it up with something.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
So they put medicine on him and stuff, and the rest of them are in the other room talking. And Alice confronts Pieter about the graves in the woods, and they're all like, "What the fuck, graves in the woods? What are you talking about?" And she just starts going off, and Pieter's like, "It's not what you think, okay? It's not what you think." And they're like, "What do we think, man? What's happening? You know?
What do you assume,
yeah,
sir?"
Like, so he and the professor kind of like start explaining to everybody because obviously Pieter again doesn't speak English very well, like me. So The professor is kind of talking about how he's like, it's the Eterma dolls, okay? And Peter is like, yes, I made one for each of you. And the point is that he was supposed to bury all of these Eterma dolls that look like her friends into their own graves.
No.
So that so that Kara isn't alone passing on to the underworld.
She's literally going to lay next to her parents.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
But they've already passed.
Okay.
So, like, there's that. Yeah. So, like, they were just supposed to be, like, comforts to her so that she's not alone.
No.
Right? And the whole time I'm like, oh, that's kind of sweet, but that's really creepy, too.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
No.
Right? And I just... Yeah, it
like,
was
we
a little...
were just digging some holes so that you guys can lay there for a while and make her feel at peace.
Yeah.
And, like,
It'd be great. It'll be fine. Bleed out a little. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
We just need a little bit of blood, a little bit of hair.
Yep.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Don't worry about it.
The clothes you were wearing when you murdered someone, and it's fine. You know, just
Oh,
like...
well.
So...
We'll sew up the holes.
Yeah.
Get the blood out. It'll be fine.
Yep. So Helen asks Tony if he gave Dan some drugs, right? Because they know that Tony's like into drugs
drug
and stuff.
man.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
the drug man. And Tony, quite offended, is like, oh, just because I speak Spanish, I'm now dealing meth in the back alleys of Siberia. And I was like, you brought pot,
You
dude.
literally
Like,
took it out of your laptop,
yeah.
sir.
And Rez is like, that didn't answer the question. And Tony's like, no, man, okay, I didn't give him nothing, all right? Like, he's...
I don't have any black tar
Yeah,
heroin,
like,
okay?
I don't have anything, right? Yeah, he's like, you know what happened is he started acting weird after that damn ceremony and stuff. And so they're kind of like talking and to each other. And Rez is being a sarcastic asshole the whole time. He was being so sarcastic, I couldn't even write down everything he was saying.
Okay.
It was just sarcasm after
jerk.
sarcasm. Mike at one point was like, oh, you really think the sarcasm is helping? And he was like, well, it's not what's killing Dan in the other room, that's for sure. And I was like, fuck this guy. Like, funny, but fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
Like... And so Helen kind of tried to like, Rez, calm down, it's fine, leave Mike alone, kind of a thing. And Rez was like, oh yeah, just be a faithful fucking dog, Helen. And so Mike goes to punch him in the face.
Oh,
and they all
jeez.
stop him from punching him in the face. And the
Okay.
professor is like, everybody just needs to control themselves. And Rez goes, that's rich coming from you. And walks away, right? And so the professor goes after him. And it's like, what the fuck was that about? What are you talking about?
Do you really
know?
want to talk about this right now, Professor? Because I don't think you do.
Right?
I don't even
Yeah.
know what it is, but I
Yeah.
can assume.
Yeah, so they go outside, and he just, like, Rez confronts,
Quote unquote.
quote unquote, the professor, like, every fucking chance he can get about him being this creep, and everybody else is like,
Me.
okay, we need to figure this other shit out, okay, Rez, we're not worried about that right now.
We're not talking about that
We're
right
not
now.
Yeah. And Rez the whole time is like, no, this and this, and he insinuates at one point that Kara had called him, like, almost not able to even talk on the phone, and asked him to come get her. So when he went and picked her up, her dress was torn, she was stumbling, like, she could barely talk.
Oh, no.
And had asked him if she should uninvite someone from her birthday party, kind of a thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And the professor slaps him, like, psh,
Excuse me, sir.
slap. And he's like, you don't know what you're talking about, because obviously he understands what Rez is
Yeah.
insinuating to
He's
him
like,
and
please
stuff.
shut the fuck up.
And he's like, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. And that he's just a coward who can't even kill himself. And I guess Rez had tried to commit,
Jesus.
yeah, self-ending
Okay,
at one point.
adult.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and like any chance he can get, the Rez is like, professor rapes people, and the professor is like, you tried to kill yourself and just suck at it. Like that's their whole fight. The
Okay.
whole fight, the entire time. And I was like, okay. Anyway, well, Rez, like, makes some dumb comment and then walks away like he won something. Like, I don't fucking know. In the house, Peter is, like, trying to tend to his wound and stuff, but Tony comes up to him and he's like, I just found something and I need to show it to you. And he's like, okay. So they go upstairs into his and Dan's room, and they find that Dan had written on the mirrors these weird symbols in blood, right? And I don't know if it was his own blood or who, like, it's just blood. And at that point, Peter is just kind of like, okay. So he goes right downstairs, grabs some rope and ties Dan up. And they're like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, okay, we have all summoned a Kyrium. A Kyrium, I think is how he pronounced it. And they were like, what? And he's like, the word. And the professor's like, a demon? You summoned a demon here? Like, kind of a thing. And they were like, how did you create a demon? And Sergei's like, you don't create a demon, you summon it.
You
like,
say hello, welcome.
yeah,
Come on
he's
in.
like, yeah, you can't create something like that. He's like, the demon from this kind of ceremony can only be like just brought from the darkness that's already there, kind of a thing. And so they kind of just have this whole little like yelling at each other moment. And Peter and Sergei just try to explain their best that the ceremony should have worked perfect. It should have. There's no reason why it shouldn't have, okay? They were all supposed to be a guiding light for their love for Kara, right?
Okay.
And he says, or he turns and looks at all of them. And he's like, you love my sister? You love her? You love her? And they're like, yes, yes, we all do. And he goes, no. One of you hated Kara.
So the one of them snuffed out the light for everybody and welcomed the demon.
Like, well, because of the ceremony that it was, it can welcome darkness kind of thing. If all of them had absolutely loved her, like, completely, the light would have been too powerful to let the darkness in.
Okay.
So he immediately is just like, the only way this demon could have been created is if her real killer was at the ceremony.
Oh.
So, and immediately Alice is like, I told you Brandon didn't do it. I told you.
This is not the time.
Not the time, Alice, right?
No.
And
we'll figure that out later.
Right? And it was really stupid. But they were all mad at him they were like, why did you do such a terrible ceremony? Like, why would you do this if you knew it was so dangerous? And he's like, it wouldn't have been dangerous. How was I supposed to know that one of you had actually killed her because her killer is sitting in jail?
Yeah.
He's like, you all lied. That's what you did here. That's what it was. And he was like, one of you killed my sister, and I'm going to figure out who it was. And they're all like, okay, like, but why? And they're like, what about this demon kind of thing, you know? And he says that the demon needs to have a host, and it cannot inhabit or hurt the person that summoned it.
Okay.
Because that person is like their attachment to the world. So if anything happens to that person, they get sent back to wherever they came from. Okay. The demon does. Yeah. So the demon wants to stay here and keep killing. That's what the demon wants to do, right? So obviously it's not going to inhabit its host because you could very easily like kill that. And then the demon's gone too, right? Yeah. You know, but if you kill its current host, it'll just jump to somebody else. So they either need to kill the person that summoned the demon or get the person who summoned the demon to confess to killing her. Then Peter would perform a cleansing ceremony and it would send the demon back, right? And they're all just like, no, fucking none of us killed Kara. Like, what? We didn't do it. None of us did. Blah, 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 blah. Like, and they argue so much about that. So fucking much. It's so ridiculous. So at that point, Tony and Eric decide that, like, they were like, do you guys have a car, don't you? Because we need to get Dan to the hospital, right? And so Sergei's like, yeah, okay, we do have a car. It's over here in this shed. Okay, and so Tony and Eric book it out of there. They go decide to fix it because Tony can drive a stick and nobody else can. And I was like, it's fine. I have a talent that is not used often anymore.
I'm not going to talk about that because I definitely don't know how to drive
Sometimes when I'm driving in my car, I like to pretend that I still have my my stick shift. So, like, I like to pretend I'm switching gears while I'm driving and stuff. It's fun. Anyway, so they go out there to go find that, and Peter and Sergei are talking to each other about how they can't let Dan go to the hospital. They're, like, talking in Russian and just, like, whispering to each other, which I find really funny because Helen, speaks Russian, and
the professor does too, doesn't he?
Not a lot, I guess. Okay. I don't know. He knows more about their culture than he does their language and stuff. But, like, Helen speaks Russian and is, like, not worried about anything. Like, there's a couple of times that they say something in the movie, she translates for everyone.
Okay.
And
now she's just like,
But she's like, I don't know what they're talking about, right? But they start going off about how they can't let Dan go to the hospital because he could get, like, the demon could hop into a different body and, like, go off and start killing into the world and stuff. So they have to keep everybody here on the farm, because I guess the demon has to be so close to other people to, like, do it or some shit, but I guess that doesn't fucking matter later. Anyway, so, yeah, they're all going off about that, and their plan is to get the real killer to confess, and just this is going on for so long. Okay, and while all of this is happening, Eric and Tony find the shed with the car in it, and they, like, decide to, like, try to get the car started. They're like, oh, good, there's the keys in it, let's get it, like, started. And they look over and they see a wooden coffin sitting in the shed, right?
Okay.
And they decide to open it because they want to see what else is going on inside of it, right?
Okay.
And as they go to do it, Tony is just like, listen, man, if there's a body in here, I'm going to run screaming, or I'm going to run crying down the fucking mountain. And I just fucking, like, died laughing. He had so many lines that were just so funny. Like, earlier they were talking about Dan, too, and stuff. He was like, oh, yeah, like, Dan had this weird look in his eyes. He's like, I wouldn't have been surprised. And they're like, if he came at somebody with a fucking axe, one of the other guys said, he's like, well, no, that was actually really still surprising. Like, that's, just like, yeah. Anyway, when they open it, there's nothing inside.
Okay.
It's just an empty one.
Good.
And it's supposed to have been one of the Aterma coffins that they were going to put one of the Aterma dolls in and bury and stuff, right? But Tony has the great idea that they could use this to put Dan in, because if he keeps attacking them, they could keep him in the coffin until they get him to the hospital and, like, explain to the hospital that they're like, he's attacking everybody, so we put him in here, kind of, you know.
Okay.
But back at the house, they're all still talking about this. We see Dan in the other room manage to get out of the ropes that he's tied up in, unties his hands, unties his feet, yanks out the screwdriver in his back.
Oh, no.
As they're all still arguing about the same exact thing they just argued about, and they do that for the rest of the movie, just arguing and arguing. Anyway, so he gets up, grabs one of the old tools from the wall, and, like, goes over to the group, and he, like, charges in about to kill them, and they're all freaking out and screaming, but he just kind of, like, and stumbles down and dies because he is now bled out from his wound. And I was like, that was really fast bleeding out from...
I mean, maybe it did hit an organ or
maybe,
something.
I have no idea. So Peter panics, checks him for a pulse, realizes there's no pulse, freaks out, and runs out of the room, right? And they're all just like, oh my gosh, Dan, oh my gosh, like,
he's
Dan.
like, peace.
Yeah, and so Sergei grabs a white sheet and puts it over him and, like, you know, dead body. That's it. He runs back in a second later with all this rope and is just like, everyone's getting tied up right now. And they're all like, what? Why? And he was like, because Dan is now dead. The demon could jump into anyone's body. Okay. Sandra goes, Tony and Eric have no idea what's going on, and slips out of the house and goes off to go find Tony and Eric, right? And they're all like, no way, man. We can't do that. Like, that's bullshit. We're not going to get all tied up. And he's like, oh, do you, like... It's better if everyone is tied up, then whoever, like, gets possessed, we can tell who it is who's possessed, and we can keep them there, and we can get the demon out of them.
Okay, but there has to be someone tying people up, which I assume is going to be the, you know, people who live here.
Yes.
What if it's one of them who the demon possesses?
Exactly. That's what they bring up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were like, are you able to get possessed? And he's like, yes. And they were like, okay, so there's that. And the professor is like, guys, listen to them. They know what they're talking about. This is the best way to do this, you know. And Rez is like, or they think all of us had something to do with Kara's death, and they're going to tie us all up and kill us all.
I mean,
you know?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So they're, again, just, it goes on so long. It goes on so long. They're just arguing. Like, I'm literally watching it at, like, 2 times speed, and I was just like,
this is still forever.
So much of this movie is this same argument over and over again. Like, just, not just the tying up, but the who killed Kara and la da da and la da da, right? Anyway. So inside the car shed, Tony and Eric, right now that technically is when they had opened the box and stuff, but it's empty. And that's when Tony starts like, oh man, we should put, like, Dan in the box. He also mentioned, like, oh, and then he wouldn't move around as much and he might not, like, bleed out faster, kind of like he'd be secured. Well, Eric gets these black veins moving up his neck and into his face. His eyes go dark, and he grabs the hammer and just starts smashing Tony's head in.
Oh no, Tony!
I know. I was like, oh,
of course
they killed off Tony, right? And possess my other favorite character. Yeah. So, like,
fuck this movie.
So fuck this movie. Yep. Right then, Sandra runs up to the shed.
Oh no.
And sees Eric smashing in Tony's head and is like, oh,
I know what happened.
Shit. Yeah. So she quickly hides, and Eric keeps hitting him for a good long time. Like, keeps going, right? But then he thinks he hears her. So he gets up and goes out to, like, check, walks right past her, like, on the side of the shed, which I don't know why people don't just, like...
Yeah, just look.
I that's my first reaction, is to look at the sides where people would hide.
Yeah.
Like,
demons are focused, man.
I guess. Well, she takes the opportunity to go in the only direction she can, into the shed.
Okay.
So she goes into the shed and hides behind, like, a workbench that's right there that, like, is pretty stacked up. So, like, she's hiding right there.
Also, now you're trapped, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, Eric goes back inside, and for some reason, okay, if you were a demon, and you were supposed to be killing people.
Right.
Okay. Would you take the time to then tie up the person you just killed, hoist them into the air with a little pulley system, and then saw off their hands?
I mean, yeah. That's priority, man.
I guess, right? I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, like, maybe it's a ritual kind of thing that it needs to do, but I would be way more focused on, like, killing everybody and then doing that.
Yeah, then
like,
we'll do that with everyone.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, that's just a little fun little powwow. They can hold hands while I do it. It'll be fine. Yeah, right? Yeah. Like, I'm just saying, yeah. So
he does that.
I don't understand why the demon wasted so much time doing that, but he spends the whole fucking, like, time practically being the demon doing that.
Why did he not do that to Dan? I guess because everyone was there, maybe? Okay.
Well, because Dan didn't have a chance to kill anybody. Because Dan was the one who was possessed.
Right.
Yeah. So, like...
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So the group realizes that Sandra's gone at that point, and Pieter runs back outside, comes back in with a rifle, as they're all like, we're going to go get in the car, and we're going to fucking leave right this second, right? We're going to go find Sandra and Eric and Tony, and we're going to go. Well, Pieter comes back in with the rifle, and he's like, you're not fucking going anywhere because I'm not letting this demon go anywhere. And it's just like, man with gun makes rules, yes? And they were like, okay, yeah, we get it. Yeah. And so, and he hands a handgun to Sergei and is like, protect yourself, and then goes outside, right? He's on the hunt now, you know? And Alice is like, can I, like, step outside at least to get some air? And I'm like, why would you go outside? Why would you do that, you dumb bitch? But she does. She goes outside and she goes to the ceremony room, right?
Why did they let her go outside?
I don't know why Sergei
No
let
one
her
leaves
do
this
anything.
room, except for if you need to have a break.
Yeah. Like, just, I don't...
You need to go smoke? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Like what?
So she goes back outside to the ceremony, like, shed, gets in there, and she's looking at all the pictures and stuff, and she sees the birthday picture that they had taken the night that Kara had been killed, right? And she remembers sitting in a room with Brandon with her eyes covered and stuff and just kind of giggling and everything. And he goes, I wanted to show you before I showed anybody else. And then she looks and he's got a ring, right? So he was going to propose to Kara. And she's like, oh my gosh. And he's like,
yay.
yeah, yay, kind of a thing. And
Good
he was
for
like,
you.
he's like, I never want to lose her. That's what you do when you love somebody, right? Ooh. And she like hugs him and she's like, oh, I'm so excited for you. This is so great, right? And then Helen comes in and is just like, hey, we're about to like blow out the candles. And then looks down and sees the ring and is like,
oh shit.
Oh, kind of a thing, right? And she goes off to tell Mike. Because,
Because,
Yeah. We see them at they're blowing out the cake, like, or the candles. They take the picture and then she blows out the candles. And Tony gets up and is like, I wrote a special poem just for you, Kara, for your birthday. And she's like, what's that? And he's like, we're all gonna fucking party. Woo! And then they all laugh and think it's funny, you know?
Yeah.
And then we see Alice standing in the bathroom, touching up her makeup, which she is using a lip liner to, like, fill in all of her lipstick. Like, all, like, just... And I know some people do that so they can get the color, like, right in the middle, too. But, like, the whole lip, like, that's a teeny tiny little... That's going to take you a good... Anyway, so she's doing that. Well, she hears arguing. So she steps outside and she sees that Helen is standing by a door. And we can hear Kara arguing inside the room, right? Crying, upset, saying, like, you need to leave me alone. I'm with Brandon now. Like, all that stuff. And Alice is like, is Brandon in there with her? And she's like, no, it's Kara, and then doesn't say anything, right?
Okay.
And so Alice goes, well, Rez just doesn't give up, does he? And Helen's like, I guess not.
Oh.
And so I was like, okay, Rez was in the room.
Why?
But then later we find out it was actually Mike in the room.
What is happening?
I don't fucking know. But Alice is like, I'm going to go tell Brandon and stuff. And they're like, no, Alice, you know how he gets, right? And just... Anyway, she goes off to tell Brandon that Kara is fighting with somebody. I don't know who's in the room. So,
okay.
Because I'm like, but she's clearly being like, Rez, leave me alone. And I'm like, are you talking to him on the phone at your own party? What, like, because Rez later is like, I wasn't in the room with her. And I'm like, what is happening? What kind of murder mystery bullshit party is this? Because what is, I don't know, right?
Okay.
So the scene cuts. We're back at the house. They fight more about this stupid fucking thing. About just, no, we need to get out of here. And no, this and that. And no, give me the gun. And Rez and the professor go at it again. And just, I don't know. It's bullshit. Well, we get back, or Pieter finds the shed. Eric isn't there, though. He's gone, okay? And he goes inside the shed, and he sees the car there. He sees Tony dead. And he decides, okay, this is fucking bad. And he opens up the hood of the car and rips out some wires so that they just
can't leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's when he looks over and he sees Sandra just like, you know, and he's like, come on, let's go back to the house. And she's like, okay, like goes with him and stuff, right? And they get back to the house and Rez thinks that he's like, listen, I know who killed Kara. And they're all like, Rez, who is it? Who is it? And he's like, Brandon, your brother, Alice.
What?
That's the first time in the whole movie that they say that he's her brother.
Okay. Brothers don't kiss their sisters on the head. Ever.
No,
they don't do that.
Sisters don't just pine after their brothers
and get
like
upset
that.
That they're proposing to somebody?
Yeah.
What?
So the whole time when I said that I thought that they were like cheating on each other, kind of, or like some kind of nonsense was going on, this love triangle, and then I sent you that video where I was like, okay, so the relationship between these two characters just revealed itself was not what I thought it was. But maybe it is what I think it was. So, like, they don't mention it for, like, the rest of I don't know. Okay. Anyway, but then Mike kind of mentions, he's like, listen, Alice, I know that Brandon was all you had for most of your life, okay? But, like, you gotta stop trying to protect him over this. He killed her. That's what it is. That's what's up. And she's like, he didn't kill her, blah, blah, blah. Just, again, they fight about it for so fucking long. And I'm sitting here thinking back, watching it a second time, looking for the context clues that were supposed to make me believe that they were brother and sister, or possibly cousins, or something in some way. No. The only way I would have noticed any of those clues they were dropping is if a big blue fucking paw print was on them. Because there was no way you would have picked it up otherwise.
Can I just say that I watched both Scooby-Doo and Blue's Clues this morning before coming over here? So
you do have an adorable child, so like, yes.
That was great.
Yeah, I just was so mad. I was like, no, it's fucking not, right? Anyway, so things start to really pick up here now, right? So we find out that Mike had told Kara not to marry Brandon because Helen told him that Brandon was going to propose, right? And he had gone to Kara to tell her not to because he was in love with her.
There's too many people.
There's so many fucking people. Like, I literally was just going to write down this guy, but I was like, I can't. Names, I need names. Like, anyway, so Alice is all mad, and she was like, but I saw Rez with blood on his hands. And he's like, yeah, Brandon punched me in the nose and broke my nose. And I was like, how would you have not known that? Yeah. Okay, your brother has just been arrested for murder, and you don't think he did it, okay? You saw someone with blood on their hands. Yeah. Did you not go to his lawyer and be like, listen, I saw him with blood on his hands, and at any point have you hung out with him after that time?
You continued to hang out with him.
Right? Like, I'm sure you did, that you did not know that his nose was broken?
Yeah.
Like, it would have been one thing if he'd been like, he punched me in the nose and gave me a nosebleed. But he was like, he punched me in the nose so hard, he broke my nose.
Yeah, that shit, I'm like, you get black eyes.
Yeah.
And, like, your nose is all fucked up.
Like, I was so like, that makes no sense. Okay. No sense whatsoever. This is supposed to be your friend that you hang out with. I mean, like, maybe they don't hang out all the time, but yeah, for you to be like, Brandon, oh my gosh, no, I know you didn't kill her because I saw Rez with blood on his hands, and him for be like, I punched him in the nose. Like, you didn't at any time bring that up to anybody, and you just kept that to yourself for forever and let your brother go to jail?
For a year?
Like,
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, yep, so just bullshit kind of stuff, right? And then they're arguing a little bit more. Alice is just kind of like yelling at the boys. She's like, you guys are just upset because Kara didn't pick either of you. And Mike was like, yeah, and look how that turned out. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just said that.
Okay.
Oh, kind of just moments, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Sergey, for some reason, I don't know how the conversation shifts to this, but he starts explaining that he's known Kara and Pieter for their whole lives, and that Kara had wanted to explore the world while Pieter wanted to learn, become a shaman and study the world that nobody understands, right? And that's just how the two of them had always been, you know?
Okay.
And he has spent years dedicated to becoming a shaman. Many, many years. And he was like, so when Pieter says there's a demon, I believe him as much as I believe in this gun right here. Like, it is as real as this gun, right? And he goes, also, and the professor starts going off about something, and he's like, listen, these guys just don't understand your culture. And he's like, oh, and you do, professor? You do, with all of your little powwows and study trips and shit you know about what makes our mountain roads so slippery kind of a thing?
Yeah.
And he's like, what? And he was like, Kara's parents' car didn't even turn when it was going towards the cliff, like, to go up so they very much drove themselves off, you know, like, so.
Which is sad, because, like, you still had 2 children.
Well, I mean, one, and then Sergey is not.
Oh.
Yeah, Sergey's not their son, but he's effectively, like, their son. He, like, lives here with Pieter. They're best friends. They've been best friends since they were children. I don't know.
So they're roommates.
I don't know, but, like, I mean, I always get those moments where like guys are talking really close to each other, like closer than normally guys do. But then I'm like, but then they're Russian, so you're like, that's kind of how they are. They're very like touch foreheady, like that's But
also,
It's fine. It's fine. Like,
do whatever you want.
I mean, they're both adorable. It's cool.
It's really cold
just...
there. You can just like snuggle up.
So anyway, yeah. So he was like, just basically saying like, so whoever killed Kara, I blame them for her parents' death too, kind of a thing. He was like, they were like second parents to me, so like, I blame them for their death, you know.
Sad.
And so Pieter comes back inside with Sandra, and he was like, you guys win. The demon's out. The demon's someone else now. Like, and they were like, what? And Sandra's like, Eric killed Tony, and they were like, oh my gosh, like Eric's the demon now, and just like freaking out. So she sneaks upstairs again to change clothes. I don't know why, but she does. And then she leaves the house. But Pieter sends Sergei after her to stop her. She needs to stay here, kind of a thing. And he goes after her, catches up with her in the woods, and he's like, you can't leave. And she's like, listen, Dan was chasing me and Alice in the woods, and you said that the demon wouldn't have killed who had summoned it, right? So I'm safe. We're safe. Alice and I are safe. He was trying to come after us. And Sergei was like, yeah, it kind of makes sense, like, I guess, you know? And so he lets her go. Like, he lets her go. She's like, I'm gonna go find help. She's like, listen, Dan's already dead. Eric is possessed, and I might not make it back in time for him to not be dead, but I can't not try. I love him too much to not try, right? And so I was like, oh, really, go get your man, you know? Like, just... Aww. And Eric is watching from the woods the whole time. Like, demon-possessed Eric is just like, does nothing to them, right? He lets it go.
He's watching the drama unfold.
Yes. And back at the house, Rez confronts the professor again. He does it like 7 times. Oh my fucking hell. And then Rez, like, yeah, you assault girls. And the professor's like, you attempted suicide and suck at it. And I just...
Okay. He seems like a great
they're
professor.
Great professor, great friend. They're so awesome together. I love all of them. I'm so glad that they're good
so
friends
glad
with each
that
other.
they made this movie.
Yes. In all of that moment, Eric starts breaking windows from the outside, and they all freak out. And what do they decide to do? I'll go outside.
Okay.
So they all
away from the windows. No.
So they all go outside, and Mike is like, why is he doing this? And Alice is like, he must be trying to like disorient us and confuse us, like, right? So
drive you outside.
Right?
Weird.
So Pieter with his rifle starts going around the house trying to find Eric, and that's when he runs into Sergei, and Sergei is just like, or Pieter's like, where's the girl? And this is where they had the subtitles, and he's like, listen, okay, it couldn't have been him because their friend had tried to kill her. And he's like, there was 2 girls, Sergei. He was probably trying to chase one of them, not the other, right? And of course they both ran because, you know. And so he was like, I'm going after her. He's like, you stay with the group. So he goes to go off after Sandra, does find her out in the woods because she's carrying a lantern, so he can see the lantern bobbing. And he goes to shoot her, but he just feels too guilty and he just doesn't do it. So he lets her go.
Okay.
And so he goes back to the house. Inside, the window stops smashing and stuff, and so Mike is like, we need to get weapons. Let's get back inside and, like, find something. So they go to that old tool wall, and they're like, well, we got shovels and stuff at least. Like, it's something. It's better than nothing. And I was like, they own a kitchen.
Yeah, where's the knives that they use to butcher reindeer?
Yeah, I just...
Like, where's that?
I don't fucking... They were like, yeah, let's go to this tool wall. Well, while they're there, it's the same room that Dan had died in, okay? And Sergei starts looking out the window. Eric sits up from under the sheet that they had put on Dan.
Oh.
And gets up and just starts stabbing at Sergei, right? And they all freak out and scream and run out of the house, right?
Okay.
And so they all had kind of got separated while they were doing that. The 2 girls ran off towards this one fucking shed over here, and the boys all ran off towards the ceremony shed, right?
Great.
So the girls get into this other shed, and they realize that it's filled with coffins. They start opening up the coffins, and they realize that they're all the Interma dolls looking like them that are supposed to be buried with Kara, right?
Yeah.
And so they open one box and they find Dan's dead body. So I guess Eric hadn't even, like, I would have stuffed him under a couch or whatever, but, like, it's fine. Nobody would have noticed. But whatever. So I guess Eric had bothered to break in through the window, get Dan's body out of the house and go put it in a shed, and then get back into the house and get under the sheet before they were like, let's go back inside. Like,
okay.
So
he's a demon, so
I guess. But they find Dan's dead body, and Helen starts screaming like it's her job. Okay, she just is this.
I mean, it is.
It's this beacon of, hey, it's me. Come kill me. Come get me, boy. Like, and it just, anyway. At the same moment, Sandra is wandering the woods, like where am I going? Under this
Snow White
twig.
style.
Like, yeah, just like spinning around and doing other things. And because of that, she falls down this little hill and gets impaled through the leg with this, like, it's like a good, like, she had to like
branch?
Yeah, like into her leg, right? And she screams like it's the end of the world. Listen, I'm sure that hurts.
Yeah.
Like motherfucking son of a bitch. Okay, I'm sure it does. But she acts like a zombie is right in her face and is about to eat her. Like that's the kind of like
fear.
Oh
scream,
no!
like
Yeah, and she's trying to yank it out. She's like, please no, please. Like just. I'm like, this is a weird reaction to have. I would have been like, oh, motherfucking son of a bitch. Like, I would have been so mad. Not like, oh, no, please. Oh, please. Like, that's what she just says that over and over again. But eventually yanks it out of herself. And I guess ties her belt around her leg so that she doesn't bleed as much. And it was in there. It was actually in there quite a bit. So, like, I can understand it being painful.
Yeah.
Very much. So, but, like... You have a mission to do. Like, so this is the moment where I'm like, you've been stabbed, keep going.
Yeah.
Like, that's, sorry, hun. You gotta go or you're gonna die. Like, that's just how it is. Anyway.
You're gonna die or you're gonna die.
Yep. And in that moment, she also kind of like rolls over and like crawls to this different spot and looks up and she sees a light in the distance. And it's just like, and then gets up and goes after it, right? Okay. So like that's what she does, right?
How do you trust anything at this point?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
It kind of did look like house lights in the distance, though. But I would have been like, is that the house I just came from?
Right, where am I?
Which
direction?
That's what I thought was going to happen. That was that she was going to go. She was going to go back to the house, and she didn't. She doesn't. So Eric obviously hears Helen screaming because, that's Oscar for that. Breaks into the shed and goes to attack him. However, Pieter right then was running by, hears the shed get broken into, and he looks through the window and shoots Eric, right?
Okay.
Shoots him once in the chest and then tries to shoot him again, but he misses and Eric just goes running out of the shed. Okay. Well, the girls freak out and go running out of the room screaming, help me, help me. And they get to the ceremony room where they go busting inside. Alice falls to the floor and Helen just clings to Mike. Like that's what it is. Clinging to them, and they were like, what happened? We heard a gunshot. And they were like, Pieter shot Eric. And they're like, is he dead? And they're like, I don't know, he ran away. Like, just Pieter obviously goes off after him, and it finds, like, he just keeps finding little blood spots in the woods until eventually he does find Eric's dead body against a tree. Okay. So he is now dead, right? Okay. And I guess becomes possessed.
Okay.
I don't see it happen.
Right.
But
there's no black veins this time?
Nothing.
Okay.
Yep. So there's that. So I guess he becomes possessed. In the shed, Rez, before they had left the house, had grabbed Sergei's gun when all of that craziness was going on. So he's got the handgun now.
Okay.
And goes on again about the fucking professor and just, like, I'm fast forwarding through it and I was like, this is like 7 minutes of argument. Like, it was going on so long. Anyway, he was like, wait, do you hear that? And looks over at the Eterma doll that was Kara that was still in there. And he goes up and he's like, she's sending us a message. And then someone starts banging against the door to the ceremony room. But like, I guess it was Pieter. I don't know. Like, they never talk about it. Like, you just hear someone banging against the door and it just kind of hypes them up a little bit more.
Okay.
I don't know. And they were saying, shoot the door. Mike is trying to hold it shut because, like, in case the door or the latch doesn't, like, hold and stuff. Yeah. And, like, anyway. Rez turns the gun on the professor and shoots him. Oh. Finally. Just get it done with or don't. Done. Like, just thank Bob.
Get it over with.
Yep. So he then walks up as the professor just kind of like, just kind of bleeding out and shoots him again. He then puts the gun down and walks outside.
He's like, my job is done.
He's like, yep. Okay. And he walks outside and he's just kind of walking along like, yes, I've done it. I've done what I needed to do. And then he will. Right? And he hears someone coming up behind him. So he turns around and does the whole arms out thing. Like, yes, I'm Jesus. I did something good. Which, I mean, shoot.
Yeah.
People that rape people. But like, just... You're not that great, Rez. You're not... Anyway,
no.
So then Pieter shows up and kills him. Like, hits him in the head. I guess it just kills him. So, back at the shed, Helen shakily picks up the gun off the ground and is just like, oh my gosh. Like, just something. It's something to her, like, it's some kind of protection. And they are like, what are we going to do? Mike is like, we just need to get out of here. We need to get down the mountain somehow, when Pieter starts breaking in through the back of the shed, right? Oh. So they freak out, run out the front door, and are just kind of running. Well, they get to this, like, ledge, because they're, like, living in the mountains and stuff. So they run into this ledge, and they stop, and they turn around, and they see that Pieter is, like, running at them. So Helen lifts the gun and just shoots him, hits him in the chest, and he goes down, right? So he's dead.
Ledge as in ledge above them, or ledge as in the ground stops?
The ground stops.
Okay.
They could fall off, kind of a thing. Oh, and as they were running, Alice had stumbled and realized that she fell right under Kara's tree. Like, she looks up and there's the coffin and stuff, and then gets up and keeps running.
Okay.
And that's the last we see of it. Yeah, so then Pieter's now dead, right? And Mike and Alice now have a gaslight off, and they just start talking to Helen about, give me the gun, blah, 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 and stuff, right? Like, and Mike is like, listen, Helen, she's the only one left. Of course it's her. She had to have been Kara's killer, kind of a thing. And Kara's like, why would I have killed her? Brandon and her were going to get engaged. Like, why would I want my brother to be in jail, kind of a thing. She's like, Dan tried to kill me and all this, like, you know, and Eric tried to kill us while we were in the shed and everything. And Mike is like, are you hearing this right now? Are you listening to her? He was trying to kill you, not her. And if you shoot me, you're going to become the demon and stuff. And just is like going off for a second. And Alice was like, can you hear him right now? Can you believe how he's talking to you? And so Helen eventually turns the gun on him and she's like, I just wanted to be with you, kind of a thing, and shoots him. Because he had been, you know, stringing her along this whole time and had been in love with Kara and again was only using her for sex, I guess. But like, he didn't seem like it so much in that moment when they were in the shed. He very much seemed like he was like, oh my gosh, I got you. I've got you. You're mine. Like, I'm protecting you. Yeah. Anyway, so she shoots him in the chest and he hits the ground. And Alice runs over to her and she's like, oh my gosh, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You did the right thing. You did the right thing. And pushes her off the cliff.
Oh.
Yep. And Helen falls to her death.
Okay.
Right?
Alice.
Yes. So we see a flashback of Alice standing in the shower. I don't know if she was standing in the shower of the house where they were having the party because her hair is wet. She has all of her makeup on and stuff, right? But her hair is wet and she's washing off Kara's blood from herself in the shower. That no one noticed her taking a full shower. Yeah. In a house, like there's
at a party where there's a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm. You would
taking up a bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay. Weird.
You took the time, the amount of time to shower. Yeah. And then blow dry your hair and curl it again. Like I'm just like. Okay.
You didn't just like tie it back and hope for the best.
I don't know. And then we hear Kara's voiceover while it's fading back to her watching Mike bleed out on the ground. He's still alive, just kind of like bleeding out. Yeah. And she's like, everyone knew Brandon's jealousy. I knew they'd all accuse him. And we're like, what? Okay. And then she's like, he was going to leave me and start another life. But now he'll always need me. I just didn't want to lose him. That's what you do when you love someone, right? Yeah, and then we see a flash of Helen at the bottom of the hill, and she's all crumbled and, like, just very dead. Broken. Mike's last breath escapes him, and that's them. Okay. Sandra makes it down the hill. Okay. She is limping along. Her leg is still bleeding. She's using her other leg to support her as she's walking because she's got no sticks. There's sticks everywhere, but she didn't pick up nothing. So she's walking up. She sees the same family from before that had given them directions, right? Their little farm. They're running along, chasing chickens, laughing, having a good time.
Isn't it like nighttime?
It's daytime now. Like it just hit morning, right? Okay. And she sees them all like out doing their early morning chores. And she's just like, I made it, as black veins run up her neck.
Oh no.
And onto her face and turn her eyes black.
Oh no.
And she grabs an axe off of a stump.
Oh no.
And the movie fades
family.
black. Yep.
Oh.
End of the movie.
Okay.
Yep.
So go on.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
Acting was trash.
Okay.
All right. There were a few moments that I was like, this is actually like pretty decent, you know. I loved Tony. I thought he was hilarious. He was super funny. Eric was a sweetheart until he became a demon, but that's not his fault.
No.
And I loved Pieter. Like, he was kind of an asshole-ish throughout the rest of the movie, but it was very much to the point of, like, you all don't understand what is going on, and I need you to listen. I've been doing this for a very long time. I can't even talk
to you, but I need to talk to you.
Yeah, like, it was, like, he knew what was going on, and they just didn't want to listen to him because they didn't trust him, obviously, you know? Like, and I don't entirely blame him and stuff. But he's over here like, one of you killed my sister, so you're an awful person, and I hate you, and I'm going to figure it out. But at the same time, like, I was like, he very easily could have just killed everybody and had it done with. He had a gun. He could have shot everyone and been done with it. Yeah. Right? I mean, if anything, Eric would have lived. Because if he had killed whoever it was, you know, Eric's in the shed being like, I'm good.
Yep.
Like,
I'll just be here.
I killed Tony, but, like, it's not my fault, you know?
Yeah.
But He was a good actor. Sergei was okay, but Pietro was pretty good. Rez pissed me off like nothing. And I normally like the sarcastic one, but I was like,
it's too much though.
It was constant. He was oozing sarcasm. Just
Yeah.
everything that came out of his mouth was sarcasm. And apparently he was in love with Kara, and Mike was in love with Kara, and Brandon was in love with Kara, and fucking my grandma was in love with Kara. I hated it so much, right? I thought it was so bad. I thought the plot would have been so much better had they gone a different route. Okay. That
the story would have been so great if they hadn't told this story.
Well, like, I would have been absolutely okay with the whole, like, Kara had been murdered. They were, like, trying to figure out who the real killer is because Brandon's in jail kind of a thing. I think it would have been better if one of them knew who the killer was, right? Absolutely was like, I know it's not Brandon. I can't prove it in the eyes of the law, but I know it was this person. Yeah. Like, it could have been honestly, I wish it had been Helen that had killed her, not Alice, because the whole time I was like, Alice killed her. Like, yeah, duh. Like,
look at her.
Duh. But I'm like, it would have been better if it had been Helen because she was in love with Mike and Mike was in love with Kara, and I think, like,
the jealousy.
Yeah, the jealousy thing. I think that would have been great because no one would have suspected her because other things going on, because again, Brandon was the one. I think it would have been fine. But anyway, I think what they should have done was that the person who knew that Alice had killed Kara had convinced everyone else to get in on this and make it seem like they were possessed or something like that. And it was the whole thing was to get Alice to confess to being the one who had actually killed Kara. And, like, everybody was dying off. But they were, like, it was fake knives, it was fake blood, it was fake gunshots, it was all that stuff. And then finally it was just Alice breaking down and being like, it was me, I did it, I killed her. Yeah. And then they like, all come out and been like, we knew it. Yeah. We fucking knew it.
Let's go to jail.
Yep. And I think that would have been so much better.
Imagine flying all the way to Siberia for that.
I know, right? Like, I think it would have been great. Kind of, like, it would have been so good. She's under the tree and she's like, Kara, I'm so sorry that it was me. I killed you. I just didn't want you to take Brandon from me. Like,
got you.
I think that would have been so much better.
That would have been cool.
I think it would have been cool. That's what I was thinking was happening the whole time, but it wasn't. So, like, whatever. They had to do real demons and stuff. So the effects were actually not too bad. There wasn't too many effects that they needed to do. The most CGI they did was the veins coming up their faces, and they did pretty good with that. The screams were pathetic. That was lame. The blood actually looked pretty believable. I was
good.
Yeah,
we need some of that.
Yeah, it was all just it was the, like, fake blood. They did fake blood. It wasn't CGI, so they did pretty good with that. Nice. Like, there wasn't too many effects, but they did good with what they had, I think. So, yep.
And you didn't like the story?
No. No.
Or the acting?
Yeah.
Okay, so you think the 3.8 is generous?
Yeah, very generous.
What do you want to give it then?
I would have given it a 2 maybe. Like,
wow.
Yeah. So, because, like, I'm sitting here and I feel like I'm not expressing how much I just didn't like.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you get so into retelling these things that, like, it makes me excited about it. Then you're like, it was fucking trash, man. I'm like, well, I feel it was fun.
I know, right? Like, I feel like I really probably would have enjoyed it
if it was better.
If the whole time I'm watching it, I was like, Alice killed her. Yeah. What were y'all talking about? And she, every time that they were like, yeah, we have to find out who Alice's real killer is, she would turn on the group and be like, well, you guys were all there at the party. And not a single person was like, you were there too.
You were also there.
Like, you were there too. Like, what are you talking about? Like, nobody suspected her.
Or, like, her being so defensive about Brandon.
Yeah.
Or,
nothing. Or, like, how do you know, Kara? How do you know? Or, like, Alice, how do you know that Brandon didn't kill Kara? Yeah. Or, like, I know that's one thing to believe that your brother didn't do it. Yeah. But, like, how do you know? Yeah. He didn't do it.
I don't remember which person it was because there's like 18 people.
Yeah.
But when whoever was like, it's so hard to lose someone, and she's like snapped about losing Brandon and all this stuff.
I didn't lose him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Relax.
Like,
yeah.
But the whole time though, I was like, stop banging your brother. Move along.
Weird.
Like, but like
take the pictures down off your wall.
I know. The thing that I just thought was so weird was that she was over here talking about how it was just her and Brandon for most of their lives. And it was like, she didn't want him to leave and like have this new like life without her. Yeah. But like, I don't know why she couldn't still be involved in his life. Like, this is her gaining a sister. I don't know what she's talking about. Yeah. Like, I just...
And if you like Kara, then why is that a problem?
Why is it a problem?
Yeah.
Like, she had apparently loved her for a long time until they got together. And I was just like, this is really weird.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here looking at this friend group, and I really don't understand how any of them were actually friends.
Me either.
Like, I mean, I have friend groups that I've looked back on and been like, sure, we only hung out a few times because we had a mutual friend.
Yep.
But I only hung out with them once or twice. I wasn't going to Siberia for them. Yeah. Like,
no.
I wasn't spending $100 on a passport.
Yeah.
To go.
And then $900 on a
flight to go to Siberia on the 1-year anniversary of her death to do the ceremony for her brother. Like,
it almost seems like the kind of thing that should have been like, they all got invitations but didn't realize everyone was going.
That would have been so much better.
And they were like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a thing.
Yeah, no, their friend group should have absolutely have been disbanded because of Kara's death. That's what it should have been.
Yeah.
And like...
And then she wouldn't have known that Rez's nose was broken. Mm-hmm. That makes so much more sense.
It would have made more sense, yeah. But no, apparently they're all still hanging out and still friends. So like, I just don't understand. There was so much of this that I was just like, plot hole, plot hole, plot hole, plot hole. And Rez, shut up and kill the professor already or don't. Like, but I mean, I appreciated there was a couple of times that they were like, yeah, who's the killer? And like, Rez would look at the professor and the professor would look kind of nervous and Rez would be like, listen, you're a creep, but I don't think you're a killer. And I was like, okay, there's that. But I'm pissed off because Rez never went and told anyone else. Yeah. He waited a fucking year to be like, I think the professor's a creep and I'm just gonna kill him. Like, you didn't at any point go
confront him, tell somebody, go to the like board of the people.
Yeah.
Whatever, the school board.
Yeah. Like, for them to do some kind of an investigation or something.
Meanwhile,
like,
he's been teaching students for a year.
Like,
they're adults, but like still, that doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean nothing. Ugh. That is very much like an abuse of power and it's not okay.
Oh yeah.
So I just like, so Rez is over here like, yes, I did something. I'm a savior. And I was like.
Yeah, the fact that it's a
year later
is really weird.
A year later.
Yeah.
And for the fact that he knew that Kara had been attacked by the professor. Maybe not assaulted, but like she was at least drugged and her dress was torn.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he was like, yeah, you should probably still invite the professor to your birthday party. Or like, yeah, no, I would have been like, absolutely not. He shouldn't be there. And Kara, I think we need to go or like talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And I understand when some girls are just like, no, I don't want to pursue it. But like... But like you're putting him in a situation where he very much can be around other girls.
Has access
and I just
to a lot of women.
And I'm not trying to victim blame, but because I'm just, like I'm not blaming Kara. I'm blaming him.
Yes,
He knew what happened and he did nothing about it. Yeah. So like I'm blaming him.
Yeah.
So
bystander blame.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It made me mad. Like everyone in that movie was an asshole except for Dan, Tony, and Eric. And I mean, Sandra wasn't completely awful, but like she just was a little bit annoying throughout the movie.
Gotcha.
And Helen was just frustrating throughout the rest of the movie too. Just like, shut up, Helen. And I can kind of understand why her name is Helen because she is from Russia. So like maybe that's a more Russian name. I don't know, but like.
I mean, at least it wasn't like Helga.
Yeah.
Like
that's
something
true.
like that.
But yeah. So I really feel like I would have enjoyed the movie more had they gone just slightly different or something. Or like, I don't know. I'm fine with demon-possessed movies. I like that kind of stuff. But I was just like, oh, so the demon's just making up his own rules whenever he feels like it kind of a thing. Because I'm like, he was nowhere near Sandra when he possessed her. No. Like,
he's like, well, now I have to hike a mile through the woods. That's cool.
That's fun. Like,
yeah.
Kind of, like, I'm sorry. What? Okay, then at what point, how far does someone have to be before his influence reaches them?
Yeah,
kind of a thing.
They said that specifically.
Like,
yeah, they brought that up.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. And I'm like, to me, it would have only made sense if it was like, oh, he can only affect the people that were part of the ceremony, but still wants to get out into the world to kill people. Because obviously, if he has a host and he's just going out killing people, like, then there's that thing.
Yeah.
But like, I don't understand why he wasted the time to hoist Tony up and cut off his hands.
Yeah, that was weird.
I don't understand.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and if anything, the demon only killed one person.
Yeah.
Everybody else killed everybody else. Oh, no, he killed two.
Yeah.
But, so, like...
True. They were just doing it to themselves.
Yep, he killed Tony and he killed Sergei, and that's it. Yeah. The rest of them killed each other. Oh, no, he killed Rez. So 3. 3, that's it.
3 out of 15.
Yep.
So, we are our own demons.
Yep.
That is the real moral of the story.
Yep. So there's that.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
It was very pretty filmed, though.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah.
I wonder if it's still available at the dollar store.
I'm not sure.
Y'all should go look.
Yeah.
Check it out.
So.
Well, we hope you enjoyed.
Yes.
We love you all.
Love you.
Have a great time.
Have a great time.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. Let us know what you think by leaving a comment or sending us an email at bmoviebashpodcast@gmail.com.
You can listen to our episodes on all your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Apple, Amazon Music, and Audible, or you can find the video versions on our YouTube channel.
If you want to support the podcast, you can find our Ko-fi link on our Anchor page. Make sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends.